that I love coming here, and I love talking to my peeps. I do like when they intro me to a group of men, because when they announce $500,000 worth of lipstick, men go, wow. Women go, please, I got 3 in the bottom of my purse. I'm assuming that you chose this because some days you feel like life is squeezing the juice out of you. Would that be accurate? And you don't want that, am I right? 2 hands up. You want to squeeze the best out of life, am I right? Good, then you're in the right place. What I'm going to share with you in the next 58 minutes comes out of a pivot point in life. And I think if I gave everybody a little bit of chance to think about what times in your life have been pivot points, you could probably come up with a few. Am I right? Those times that we either change careers, change fields of study, change where we live, change who we live with. Those changes are all life changes. And sometimes those life changes provoke a whole new way of life. So that happened to me on the very first day I was a centerfold. That's so hard for me to say that with a straight face. It was actually the first and last day I was a centerfold. So imagine this, work with me. I know it's hard to work with that visual. There I was, centerfold, staple, right there, sprawled across the hood of a cotton candy colored pink car. I felt like a Vegas showgirl. At the time, and I'd love to tell you, it was a 4-color lingerie European magazine. It was not. Do we have anybody in the room from Barrie, Ontario? Hands up. So I was centerfold in the Barrie Examiner. Can we raise the roof? Woo, woo! And it was black and white newsprint. That was the local paper, and I was the local sensation for all of 6 days, or maybe 2 till they used the newspaper for the cat litter. And the reason I was that success story is the cotton candy colored pink car that I was sprawled over had been given to me by my company for being a top achiever. And it wasn't the first, it was the 7th consecutive car that I'd earned from the company. So, thank you! That was nice! And so I was feeling, can you imagine, think of a time that you totally aced it. Doesn't it feel amazing? Like you just feel on top of the world. And I have to tell you that my kids were probably 11 and 7, and they were getting covered on global news. So they thought mom crawling on top of a car in a dealership and being allowed to was very, very cool, so I couldn't say no. And so imagine how I felt a couple of days later when I'm sitting putting on the finishing touches of my makeup and I look in the mirror and I realize I'm miserable. Miserable. And it wasn't that I wasn't richly blessed. I'd had a lot of good fortune in the career I'd held, a lot of years by then. My family had benefited greatly. I'd had a ton of freedom of schedule. I'd raised my children in a positive environment. It was all good, which made it worse. Because when everything's going good and you say you're not happy, friends say, what the heck's wrong with you, right? And then you feel guilty because we're female, right? So I'm sitting there thinking, what's wrong? And I realized that I got to a place where I just didn't feel like I was doing what I was meant to do. Now, if you're here with coworkers, you may not want to raise your hand, but can I just get kind of a hairy eyeball look that indicates to me that you feel what I feel? Yes? Okay, good. So there I am, and then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so what do I do with that information? Because the truth is, I was bringing in 6 figures, and I was contributing greatly to our household income. Life would change if I stopped that. And the other truth was, I had studied sciences. I was going to be the family's first brain surgeon, got involved in a musical, and got asked to leave the science program. So I didn't have enough of a science degree to do anything with it. I'd only ever known what I was doing. And so because I was in sales, I was constantly listening to cassettes. I may have to explain what those are to a few of you, in the car on personal development. And one of those tapes just happened to be Stephen Covey. And he didn't coin this phrase, but I sure wish I had. And that is, when you get to the top of your ladder of success, make sure that it's leaning on the right building. I was close to the top of my ladder of success. I'd had a lot of success. But I didn't think I was leaning on the right building. Anybody appreciate that in any area of your life? Yes? All right. So I knew I had to make a change. And I don't cry pretty. I actually cry really messy. So as I melted onto the black and white tiles of my bathroom, snorting and heaving, a real mess, I thought, okay, I got to make a change. And it was in that moment, that pivot point of life, that something changed. So next time you hit a pivot point, you may want to sit there and take it as an opportunity, because here's what happens. If you stay in the point without pivoting, life will squeeze the juice out of you. Does that make sense?